Okay, so this is going to be my pre-NTU open video, and the competition is coming up in a week and I hope to make some hype for it. So okay, I'm just going to go through all my mains and my goals for the competition. So for 3x3, I intend to participate this time. And usually I wouldn't join this event because I don't like it as much as the bigger cubes, but the participation price is actually a little bit lower in this competition, like in terms of like price per event. So I just participated in one more event, and like through practicing, actually I do find that 3x3 is quite fun. Aiming for a 16 average, and the cube I use is a RS2 with very weak magnets, and even though the raw speed of this cube is not the fastest out there, I find that I can turn, like in terms of TPS, I can actually have quite a fast turn speed on this cube, and the left ring finger D and D prime work very well. The RUD G-pumps also flow very nicely, and like this cube just has a very tight and stable feel. Yeah, the plastic is quite soft and the cube has a slight flex which adds some fluidity to the turning, and it makes this event quite fun, even though I normally wouldn't like solving 3x3s. For 4x4, this is my most practiced event in terms of the number of solves I've done per session and the number of sessions I've done in total. So I'm aiming for 47, and I actually cycled between a number of 4x4s during the first half of this year because I was testing the Aosu V2 and the Valve 4 to make all those review videos. And I also do intend to borrow and try out the Meilong 4x4. I have very high hopes for the Meilong 4x4 because it's 59mm and potentially also very lightweight, which is a very potent combination, and hopefully I can make a CubeWorks premium version and make a few copies, and hopefully you can get it. But right now I feel that none of the cubes that I've borrowed actually stack up against the Aosu GTS1. That includes the GTS2, which actually the turning is better than the V1, but I borrowed a black cube and my recognition is better with stickless, so generally on all those cubes that I borrowed, my averages are around 49 or 50, but with this one it's about 47. So what's so special about my Aosu GTS1 is that the edges contain one extra magnet being stacked on top of the pre-existing magnet, so it makes the outer layers more similar in strength to the inners, and it also makes this cube a lot more stable and a lot more reliable. And in general, it's still a very fast cube, and normally I will use multiple cubes to do long averages, but in the weeks leading up to the competition I just resort to using this one only. The magnet stack actually makes quite a lot of difference to the stability of this cube, and if you're still using a GTS1 but you don't have the ability to get a better cube, then I would just recommend you do that mod, and I find that I'm really satisfied with that. For 5x5, I'm aiming for a sub 130 average, and the cube I use is a Weichong GTS. So actually I do like stickerless cubes over black, and this cube is a model from 2016. Plus Moi actually plans to release a new 5x5 after the Ultron GTS, which if you have watched one of the newer videos from Wang Ximing, you can actually see that new 5x5 in action. But I do not see myself switching away from my Weichong anytime soon. And the reason behind that is it's just a very nice cube that I can't really say anything bad about, and this cube doesn't really have any obvious problems that slow me down in any way, apart from the whole black and stickerless thing, which is not really a huge deal, and I find that I don't really need a better 5x5 than this. So even though better cubes can exist, I probably don't need them, and I'll just stick to this one. For 6x6, I'm aiming for sub 230 average, and my average is actually above 230, but last comp I got lucky and I got 228 average, and it's going to be quite difficult to beat that timing, but I still find that it's worth a try. So the cube that I use is an Aoshi GTS with weaker magnets than the official mass-produced version, and the inner layer is not magnetic, and the reason behind that is because I find that it turns with the same force as two magnetic outer layers. I do prefer the unmagnetized inner layer as opposed to having one that with the double magnet. The Aoshi GTS is actually a very difficult cube to set up, but once it's done right, it becomes the one legendary cube that challenged the 10-year-long rule of 4x4, which has been my favorite event since 2008, but in 2018, when this cube came out, it changed things up a bit. And I did go back to having 4x4 as my favorite event a few times, and 7 has also been a contender, but I find that 6 would probably be my new favorite, and like this cube does have quite a lot of nice features to offer. Like the turning speed itself is faster than most of the good 5x5s out there. With that, I think the only two cubes that can really top this one in terms of raw speed are the super frictionless Yichuang V2 outer layers, as well as the very lightweight Little Magic 5. Another feature that I really like about this cube is the Florian holes are slightly bigger than on the X-Men Shadow, and I really like how this cube feels less squared off than most of the other top 6x6 models. And it handles the inner layers a lot better, yet the stability is quite reasonable. it flexes slightly more than I like, but it generally still retains a very tight feel and it keeps its shape very well. For 7x7, I'm aiming for a sub 340 average, and the cube that I use is an Aofu GTS1, which in my opinion is the best end-by-end puzzle ever made. It has all the benefits of the Aoshi GTS, meaning it's very fast, very smooth, and very stable, but then it has more to offer. Like, firstly, it's a lot easier to set up. All I did was I set this cube tighter than the stock tension, and I threw in some very thick high viscosity loop, and after that it's more or less where it is now. And on top of that, it actually corner cuts better than the Aoshi GTS in both directions, and this is especially so for the inner layers. It can cut at least half a piece in all those inner layers, which is really nice. This cube also has a lot more elastic force holding the cube together, so it actually does flex a little bit more than the Aoshi GTS, and it feels less tight because of how I set it up in general, but at the same time the stability doesn't feel any less because the elastic force is stronger and the cube just retains its cube shape like much better. This cube actually stands up very well against all my bad PLLs, and I use very horrible and re-grippy RUL Gen like V and N terms. But my Aofu GTS does stand up against all those abuse like better than all my other big cubes. Plus, like, this cube also has a I said this in my Aofu GTS versus Spark versus Haze video, but the Aofu GTS actually has an extra structure inside the mechanism, somewhere inside the second layer, which helps to lock the second and third layer together much more tightly than on other cubes. And then this actually totally stops deforming lockups and pops from even happening. And like, this is one of my reasons why I think the Aofu GTS is a lot better than the Spark and the Haze. Like, and it's one of the it's the key feature setting this cube apart. This cube can actually just corner cut through angles that would normally deform other big cubes. Like, if you corner cut one, you can actually 1x2 corner cut more than a piece, which is something that I've never seen before. And the inner layers also turn out quite well, because like, when you have this very big internal structure, this piece has nowhere to go but to right on top of like this other piece here, and it results in you just corner cutting right through. Whereas like, if you don't have that big internal structure down there, this piece will just slide into this other layer and jam the whole cube. And another thing I really like about the Aofu GTS is that the magnet strength distribution is the best that I've seen in any big cube. So the inner two layers are very similar to each other, and the outer is very slightly weaker, which is a feature of the Haze 7 as well, except that in the Haze 7 there's a bigger difference between the outer versus the inner two. Whereas in the Aofu GTS, all three layers feel very close in magnet strength, but the outer is just very barely weaker. And I prefer it this way. So the Aofu GTS is like the only cube that I think the stock magnets are completely perfect. Like, in all my other cubes, they're either self-magnetized or they contain like modified magnets. I really do enjoy this cube a lot, and like, the funny part is a lot of people like the X-Men Spark because of the smaller size and the stronger magnets, but these features actually turn out to be minus points to me, because I'm not too sure why. The smaller size of the cube actually causes me to grip the cube a bit harder, and the stronger magnets also require like more force to turn, and I tire out faster on the Spark. 8x8, not an event, but I like to bring this cube to competition just for fun. So I use a MF8M with Yixing Unicorn King 4x4 springs, and the inner layer is also unmagnetized, just like my Aoshi GTS, because that's how I like my even layered cubes. And the speed and the stability of this cube, as well as the handling, is more like a 7x7 than an actual 8x8. And honestly, if I could rank the Aofu GTS first, followed by Haze, and then Spark, then this thing would follow up like fourth, very closely behind the Spark, in terms of like just the handling in general. Like, okay, this cube does have a slight bit of problems, like it's a bit more square than I would like, and the 2x3 and 2x4 pieces can pop if I'm not careful. But in general, just the pure turning ability, I think I can actually turn this quite close in speed. One recent incident I have involving this cube was that I actually have a sub-6 single, but it's a very sketchy sub-6 because I keyboarded it and the time difference is smaller than the stack mat pickup. So I feel like I don't really deserve this sub-6 single, but I find that it's still a step forward in getting faster on 8x8. And yeah, probably I do hope to globally average maybe sub 630 on this cube and get a proper sub 6 single.